Ha! The human element continues. I'm gonna stop, putting times on when I'm gonna post videos. I can't make any promises. I'm all over the place. Scattered, but I'm still grounded. Hey guys, how you doing? Hi. Hey. Hi. Yes. Smart things. Talking. Okay. Boom. Words. Apparently I'm cool. Apparently I'm a cool guy. Right? And I've always felt beyond. It's funny. It's funny how much intelligence is in feeling. And there is intelligence in childlike wonder. There is a large chunk of intelligence that comes from feeling. And it's tricky to extract that intelligence. It's tricky to communicate and form relation with that for certain people with varying degrees, whatever you call it. I feel it's important. I feel it's important to bring a sense of cohesion to intelligence, because I know myself to be an intelligent man, though before going through certain trials like this year or last year, I wouldn't have been able to say that, for the simple fact that saying something like that is out of line. It's out of line to say that you're intelligent. Slap on the wrist. I mean, now I've been faced with my deep intelligence, so I can't say that I'm just intelligent. I have to say that I'm a genius. I have to say that because if I don't say that, then the entirety of what I could relay would be diminished to some extent. Whatever extent that is. That's not something I'm wanting to get into right now. But genius is in application. And I've mentioned before about embodiment, embodying a thing. And though I have not posted in some time, the way that I live my life guarantees that I evolve tremendously. I create frameworks. I need certain data from certain places to create frameworks mentally that I use. One of the most important frameworks that I've built is the learning framework. It requires something, right? There's a process. When I was younger, I wrote well. I still write well, though I am apprehended to for reasons that I also will not get into right now. But I write well and I speak well and I think well. And I was taught well, I would say. I would say many people are taught well. But I learn well because I like to learn particular things as it relates to what I deem worthy of using for navigating my internal framework. And I might have mentioned something like that before, to where first it starts with the question as to how does the world work? What are the mechanics? And there's so many levels on which mechanics happen. There's the quantum, there's the spirit, physical. So these levels. What's the point of being smart if you're not able to form connection? Right? And that's where the intelligence of emotion comes in. It's not so much, now that I say it like that, the intelligence of emotion. It's that emotion is an intelligence of its own, and it has to be respected as such. It's an arm of intelligence. So, what's the point of being smart? What's the point of knowing math, being able to crunch numbers? And this is in relation to my experience, right? Someone who was taught to read and write, things like that. What's the point of knowing how to do all of those things if, per se, you had a mental block, like maybe you were bullied at a time for being outstanding, and beyond that point you realized, though there weren't as many physical targets, that because of simply portraying mannerisms of excellence, uh, spears, cannons, things of the like. Things that make people stronger, right? So when I was younger, there's like things that float in the air, phrases, right? And I don't think they're around as much. You guys remember that? And it's like you be in a certain point of conversation, and hear someone say something like, "Sounds like a you problem," Sounds like a you problem, or I'm pretty sure they still say don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So yeah, that one definitely takes a ticket. But a lot of the phrases are that I was growing up around aren't really floating around as much, and it was like a lot of wisdom. It was so much wisdom. It was just quotes, phrases, stuff Uncle Iro would say, and they were just floating around. And it's just like liberty or death. Give me liberty or give me death. Or it's just it's so much. But knowing is only half the battle, right? So if knowing is only half of the battle, what is the other half of the fight that's being fought, right? As an intellectual, someone who grew up tackling that domain from a young age, right? The domain of thinking well, so to speak. The domain of or the aim to master the domain of thinking well, right? Because of the desire to learn, the genuine desire to learn, benefit from learning. So think about how many times you would heard someone getting jealous about someone and the things that they're reaping at a certain point in their life. And it's not so much as to anything that they've done at that particular point in time to where it was just a sporadic care package dropping down, blessing this person. It was more so this person had a commitment, right? And matters of the heart really come into play as far as benefiting the whole completion in thought, because in emotion, matters of the heart, that is a domain of intelligence. So to neglect that is to neglect the entirety of intelligence, right? It's to neglect the pursuit of the entirety of intelligence. And to fail to come to that conclusion is the degree to which you fail to overcome your ego, or the hold that the ego has over your conceptualizations, your commitment. So knowing is only half the battle. What's the other half? Something that I had to struggle with as someone who was supposedly intelligent. Like, supposedly, I'm smart. But really, I'm just a really stupid guy. I'm a guy who's willing to be really, really stupid in order to learn the lesson. So, my willingness, to the degree that I've stayed true to my heart's fluctuations, which would grant me the natural benefit of attracting that which benefits me as I'm moving through this space in that state, right? So I'm moving through this space in the state of that which serves me highest, which is not neglecting I'm getting off track, but I will get back to that. It's a good place to go. Knowing is only half the battle. So you could say smart. Here you are. Smart. So now there's a lot of smart people and they're really educated, but they're educated dummies. And there's a lot of educated dummies who benefit from educating other people to be stupid. Ignorance is bliss. Until someone like me comes around. Now ignorance is not so blissful. Now you have to think thoughts. Now you have to face what you need to face. Those dishes you didn't wash. Why don't you? Supposedly, I was smart. And supposedly, a lot of people are smart. I never believed it was smart to believe I was smart. I always believed it was smart to believe that there was a lot that I didn't know. And to the degree that I truly believe that is that to the degree that I truly based my thoughts upon that theory, so to speak. Because we all run with a theory at a certain point. And this is actually, I'm going to loop this back. There was a lot of phrases that was around, floating in the space, bouncing and repelling when I was growing up, right? And those phrases, they align you with certain things. They have a theme to them. Like, and there's phrases that if you gravitate towards them, you're likely to become a certain kind of person. If you're catching my drift. Example, the phrases that I gravitated towards were phrases that had to do with like phrases or quotes. I think phrases, quotes, but they had to do with protecting your essence. They had to do with liberation. I'm like YOLO is a phrase. You only live once. And I've come to find that that kind of phrase aligns you in a certain way. And if if it floats into your orbit and you grab it and you soak it up, you'll become a certain type of person. YOLO, you only live once, carefree people, a kind of phrase. And there's a whole stretch of like a particular type of people with specifications, you know? So maybe you're carefree, you're wild, and you're also like a risk taker, more on the adventurous side, more on the extroverted side. And then there's other specifications of carefree where it's like you're carefree, but you're calm, and a mix of other things that basically add up to you being nonchalant, which is a different kind of carefree, right? And if you're that specification of carefree, you would have a line of phrases or, concepts or quotes that would fit in with your type. So if you're carefree and calm and quick to move on, like phrases like people are gonna be people, I gotta look out for myself at the end of the day. Specific things. Apparently I'm smart. Apparently. If knowing is only half the battle, what is the other half? I would say the other half of the battle is the application. Okay, so now you know. Now what are you gonna do? Nothing? And nothing could also still tie into application if the nothingness is made in decision with conscious aim towards application at some point. And that's where specifications of intent and things like that. Like, where are you aiming? Make sure that you're not afraid to adjust your aim. Maybe your aim needs to be adjusted. And if you want to adjust it back, put down a little anchor, a stake, something like that. So what? You smart. So what? Okay? Now you do. Okay, that's it. Smart do. If knowing is half the battle, what's the other half? Application. Apply what you're learning. Okay. Simple. I didn't really say anything magnanimous at all, honestly. And at this point, you know, knowing is only half the battle. What's the other half? Application. The people, there's different, and going back to domains, right? There are people who would lean more towards just being smart as opposed to being smart and doing. And there's certain people who are lead towards just doing as opposed to just being smart and doing what they're doing. But the entirety of the human element is that when it comes to beings that have the capacity to embody, there is no right or wrong here. These are just planes to be mastered. It's kind of like going from anger to compassion or something like that. Anger to happiness. Did you spend a particular period of time in your life to where you were just angry? And that was the greater chunk of your life. Okay, well, in terms of mastery, for you to, if you're interested, if mastery is something that interests you, it's definitely the core element of the human element is mastery. No one can force you to do anything. You know, I'm not gonna put a gun to your head. I don't even. Anyway, but you know, if you want to be a master, if you grow up on one particular pole, you have to go to the other pole. And what that means is true growth is the willingness to accept measured discomfort. Measured. What does that mean? Well, it depends on the person. You measure depending on the person. So, like I said, if you start with a person who spends a greater chunk of their life, you know, on one pole, which would be the anger pole, then mastery would come from associating with the operations and the machinations, the mechanics of the other pole. Because to neglect the poles is to neglect the entirety of the thing. That's what it means to neglect poles. You don't want the whole. You don't want the whole thing. And if you don't want the whole thing, you can leave the classroom. If you leave the classroom, you're gonna go and you're gonna use your extremely valuable, precious faculties of mind, heart, and spirit. All of those would be directed towards lesser things, which of course could still result in you putting back on the right path. You know, everything is always fluctuating, so you know, don't start crying. But you know, growing up, it's like, okay, so what? You're smart. And I realize a lot of people and a lot of people who will definitely agree with me. There's a lot of people who are really educatedly stupid. They'll say a whole paragraph and add unnecessary words because what? They know the words and and because they learn the words and they know the applications, that means that they have to put it in there. And it's just like, okay. And you run into a guy like me, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to use the words that I need to use to convey the message that I'm trying to convey to the particular individual that I'm speaking with. I mean, it just holds a different flavor. I don't think I'm the type to play stupid games. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And playing a smart game with just ego, to just be intelligent and show that you're smarter than other people, and to gain holdings in whatever group you can find, like a parasite burrowing in. Representatives, right? There's always going to be representatives, and we're all representatives. But how good are you at representing what you're aligned with? And are you aware of both the benefit that comes with engaging in the process and the mere fact that it's your right to engage in the process? So there's right and duty. It's your duty and your right. So it's a blessing in that your work frees you. Your work frees you. But I can't do your work for you. And that's what the human element is all about. People are very capable. The conceptualizations that float out into the air today, it's a lot of weakness, safety, as if people are not capable people. We're just disrespecting each other and our capabilities as individuals. But it's because, if the individual has been drained by the group of groups, then the individual can't represent as an individual. So as an individual, I represent individuals. Individuals are inspired by me. Individuals are threatened by me. Individuals are curious about me. But I'm not the only one. Because there's so many individuals. And to be a true individual, you have to be able to represent yourself. The Because if you don't represent yourself, then you're not representing the individual. You're representing a group or some beastly amalgam of groups, an abomination, a fragmented cluster monster, which has its benefits, right? Ben 10 with the watch and Kevin Levin. Kevin was pretty cool. He seemed to get pretty well through his phases, got his human form back, right? Pretty elite guy. Did what he had to do for the power. Became a fragmented beast for a little bit. Everyone has their path. Everyone has their path. But is that what you want? What are you trying to align with? What are you trying to align with? What is your intent? What is your intent? And is what you're aligning with what you really think it is? Do you think that the thing that you're aligned with is a stationary thing? Do you think that the thing that you're aligned with does not move? Do you think that your target is a still target? Dealing in realms of consciousness where all things vibrate and are in motion? Do you think that the essence of the thing that you're trying to align is stationary? And what I'm trying to say is, how beneficial is it to have the ability to adapt and change your aim? And what are you using to base the changing of this aim on? And this is what smart people just can't explain. You can't do it if you're just smart. I'm more than smart. I take my time. I do very well. It's very calm here. Just because the world is getting more fast-paced and it says I have to speed up, doesn't mean I can't be cool. If you can be cool with me, come kick it when you got some time to cool. We cool. But if you're spending all this time just thinking, you would never come to these very what would fall under the classification of what we would say common sense. But really, for one to have the access to what would be called common sense, one would have to be an individual. An individual fully represented, because we're all individuals. But we're not activated, we're deactivated. Some of us are very distant. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's not enough to just be smart. It's not enough. It's not enough to just be smart. You have to feel. What are you using to base the changing of your aims? Questions, right? I think it's important to segue into approaches to theorizing. Right. Okay. So what was the last thing I said? I said, what are you using to change your aim with? Right? So what are you using? What framework could you possibly use to change your aim? Well, if you're trying to align yourself with something, what does that entail? Right? Let's break down alignment in a simple way. All right. If we have to go about aligning something, my mind when I theorize, because I realize that I think in a particular way, when I think about alignment, there was a certain point where I had to theorize alignment, and now I've got a system of alignment down, which means I am fully capable of manifesting whatever I want, which has always been the case, and is the case for anyone at any point in time if they were to enter a specific state and use intention directed towards a certain aim. Hence the human element. Anyway, we're all capable people. We're all individuals. We all have our own spark. We all have our own flair. And we are all reflections of the divine. And it is okay to have a reflection of the divine that deeply inspires you. It's okay to perceive that as something that you have access to internally. Because it is. Supposedly I'm smart. Now the way that I apply what I know, the way that I meld in between these two, the way that I've systemized this part right here, this part has been systemized for me. That's why I'm a very calm man. I'm very capable. And I know I'm immortal. I can die at any time. I do not want to live my life worrying about when I'm going to die. Don't got time for it. I got better things to do. And it hasn't happened yet. Nuke threats, killer bees, still here. JP said something that was really cool in terms of lying. Me personally, I grew up lying a lot. I was a pathological liar when I grew up. Yeah, definitely. In my earliest years, definitely a liar. Over the smallest of things. Why? of this will have to. I got a little bucket. You can make a little bucket of things I gotta circle back to if you want. Hold me to that. Nah, I'll do it myself. If you lie and you want to make the lie work, more oftentimes than not, you become the lie. Becoming the lie, that's the best bet you have to ensure that the lie lives. So as from the standpoint of a liar, someone who just lies and lies and lies and lies. Lies and lies and lies and lies. Why are you lying about everything? I've always been told no. I've had things denied me. I don't trust in negotiation because I feel that I'll lose if we negotiate. I feel that we'll lose if there's negotiation. So I don't believe in negotiation. I don't believe in negotiation because of what I've been through. There was a pattern, and I realized that in negotiation, I lost. I don't want to be phone. I'm not really a fan of losing. And that's just me theorizing as to why at that time I might have felt like I had to lie a lot. Because actually it's hard to me to really remember why I might have felt like that. Almost impossible. Almost impossible to remember. But I still have a good memory. But then that's a theme that pops up in, multiple people's lives. So I wanted to, just hit this whiteboard more. So, I can get this to a point to where it's more more impactful. Working on it, and it's all right to struggle. But how are you struggling? What's the aim of your struggle? Are you struggling and taking and only seeking to taking from the perspective of never getting to the point to where you'll not need to take, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy? Because if you take from that place, then what you become is the kind of person who takes whatever, whenever. And that kind of person is not the kind of person who has free reign over their lives. They're usually in some sort of probation. if they don't have an actual probation officer, they're in an arrest of some kind. An extra bondage based on their operations, because we already have a lot of people with binds. So to wrap this up, as so it's in the application, and it's really hard for any pole to go to the other pole at all. Well, that's kind of what I do, essentially. I like to master domains at this point. It comes with the territory of being the kind of person who people love to target. You learn different tricks. If you aim to learn, like with my particular disposition, I'm getting hit. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Odds stacked against me. What's the aim? Well, if I'm going to get hit, I'm going to learn from it. It's simple, but served me well. It ties into a thing that I believe I was telling someone about. Wasting pain. Don't waste your pain. You can use your pain for something, some sort of change, some sort of elevation. Don't waste it. If it's there, use it. And use it for the highest. Use it for the highest. Sharpen your conceptualizations of the highest. If you're the type of person who claims they will use it for the highest, but you don't sharpen your conceptualizations of the highest, then you're not me. You're not the one. And it's okay not to be the one for that particular role, because you innately know what your role is. It's just how many things are you doing to go against your role? Back to what JP said about lies. Like lie alignment. Right? Like if you lie to someone else, there's a chance that you don't have to become a lie, but more oftentimes than not, to sustain a lie. And based on the fact that you truly can't control external circumstances in the way that they collide, and they often collide in a very patternistic way. They come together. They make shapes, so they always eclipse at some point, which is why things always come to pass, things always come to the light, because planets are always spinning on this continual line. Orbits. So if I'm aligning myself with something, there's sort of this theme of like a filter, right? If I'm not mistaken, if I'm aligning myself with something, and I had to break it down, I would have to say that the approach to aligning myself with the thing would be to filter everything that is not that thing out. Okay, so you're an intelligent person. You're a smart, educated man. Sorry. You're a smart, educated woman. Sorry. You're a smart, educated person. You're a smart, educated person. But you can't connect these dots. What is intelligence? If you can get away in a certain group with a certain kind of intelligence that does not have any morality, what's the harm? And to that, I would say, to that theory, because doing easy things is so common. And I've been past that easy plate before, to which I continuously say no, because I'm trying to align myself with a particular thing. And that particular thing that doesn't fall in line with that. And it's like, hey, to each their own. Do what you're gonna do. Like, yo, bro, if that's your plan, do you. You seem like you got life figured out. Now I'm the guy who seems like I got life figured out because I have the willingness to say no. So, to tie this up, what's the point of being smart if you don't have the willingness to follow through on the conclusions that you come to based on your intelligence? Your intelligence is incomplete. Something not happening. So completion in the thought process as far as the entirety of intelligence. The completion of intelligence doesn't happen without willingness. With intelligence, there has to be a willingness. And if you have a willingness, you have intelligence. Because willingness is the requirement for intelligence. So I've come into contact with people who say they're not so smart. I think you're a genius. I think you've been robbed of the capacity to gather the data, to build frameworks, to make use of your genius, to accentuate your genius, to familiarize yourself with what it means to be in relation with your genius, as opposed to just theorizing what genius is. Genius is in action. Genius is in embodiment. All comes back to embodying. What are you aligning yourself with? And to that, I would say, yeah, you could take the easy road and that could benefit you. Ignorance is bliss. And then I come in with my high standards that I genuinely aim to upkeep. Because I've realized that those standards keep me in alignment with a particular thing. Not perfect people. I might, uh, 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 I haven't spelled plateau in a while, so I don't think it has. It's plateau, plateau, plat. Yeah, I haven't spelled plateau in a while, and I should have checked before I started recording again. But that's what we're dealing with. And I actually want to wrap this up. So, simply put, in one of my previous lessons, I did mention subtracting from your minuses, and that's a very key theme to my life. Moving things, very specific things that have proven over observation to not serve me. It's observation. It's not hazardous, abrupt. Oh, it's all fair. All in my highest conceptualizations of fairness that I ceaselessly make sure it's actually fair as far as what fair actually is. I know I talk a lot, I'm sorry. I say a lot of words. Speaking, it's like, yo, Kill's saying a lot of nothing. And it's like, I know I'm saying everything. And that's why I'm also saying nothing. And I'm not trying to say anything. The problem that I see is a lack of distribution. I'm just trying to distribute. Or not trying to distribute. I'm just distributing. It needs to be distribution. So the plateau is, okay, you have a plus and a minus. So if you're feeling like you're on a negative side, sometimes in attempts to counsel people, we'll try to counsel people out of the negative side with a positive side. What I've come to find is if you're in a negative side, you're in a negative side for a real reason. And that real reason is as real as far as the individual is concerned. And so, as far as that's the case, they will act that out as reality. Even though we all have access to multiple realities at once, at every time, that does not negate the fact that because of the program that they're running with, that they're going to be aligned with certain actions. So if you're in a negative for a real reason, and that real reason, in the most important cases that I wish to tackle, cannot simply be solved with positives. In the same way where if you meet someone who's really solid and stable in their character, on the positive side, people try to chuck spears at me and test my character, and after they do that, they look at me wide-eyed. It's because, for the most part, I'm embedded in the positive. For the most part. I'm actually embedded in a process that mediates between the two. So what am I aligned with? I'm aligned with the line. But that's just me personally. I live on the edge. Isn't that what it means? I'm aligned with the line. So if you're going to get someone to a point like a person, you want to change circumstances in your life which have their root in real things that have happened previously and are happening because of things that happened previously. What you need to do is move to the middle line and get yourself neutral. You need to go neutral. And if someone, like when people become villains, right? They're usually at a positive sign, right? And then something shocks them, and it's almost like they don't know what's happening, which is they get chopped down to neutral, and then maybe they formulate their own idea of what's going on, and they don't like that idea, and they hate that idea, and they become bitter, and they go down, and they stay down. Plenty of stories like that. If you come up with them, people who fall. Plenty of stories about people who rise too. I like to focus on the rising. If you're so interested, this is just how I conceptualize growth. As I challenge myself in a particular realm, like, for instance, I struggled with eye contact, and I wanted to work on eye contact because I wanted to be able to actually look at the musicians that I'm playing with while I'm playing with them so I can be present with them. So, combining my concept of subtracting negatives and the plateau, I somewhat have a gauge of where I am as far as if I'm actually getting better, or what is helping me personally get better. Because at the end of the day, growth is just discomfort, right? If I don't trust people, how do I get better at trusting people? I have to start trusting people, right? If I want to gain muscle and build it, I have to be weak consistently, time and time again. And the consistency is the best part. I have to make sure that I'm consistently weak. And then at a certain point in bodybuilding, right? Like some bodies are not strong enough to support themselves. And they're not strong enough to support themselves not because they're not strong enough to support themselves, it's because they haven't been worked to the point to where they can support themselves. Like, why wait until you're old to do Tai Chi? Why wait until your hips lock up and you start like scrape walking, you know? You do a little, because you're so locked up and you're so tense. Why wait? You can just stretch now, you know? Get loosey goosey. Move. You know? Get active. There's no point in being so still, you know? There's no point. Doesn't help. Not at all. That's it. That's really it. I got better at making eye contact. I said, hey, I'm gonna learn how to play guitar. And it's like, well, I'm gonna learn about some things not to do, but before I do that, I gotta sound bad. So I sounded bad in the comfort of my own home. And then I get good. And after I get good, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So after I get good at, sounding really bad in my home, I get really good at sounding bad around other people. And that's my approach to getting better. And it's like, yo, you're getting really good at playing guitar fast. And it's like, yeah, I lose well. I'm a great loser. I'm a great student. I'm the greatest bait in the world. I love being underestimated. Because then I just get to take over different domains. Nobody's watching me while I'm gaining skills, gaining abilities. And I have the ability to gain abilities. The ability to gain abilities is the willingness to grow. And the willingness to grow is the willingness to be uncomfortable. It's the willingness to go against the grain. It's the willingness to consciously, methodically dive in to the opposite plane. You dive into the opposite plane for the intent of mastery. The most powerful people, they all have a common thing, right? And we all love those stories. It has a psychological element to it too. Underdog, struggle, odds stacked against, makes it to the top, starts doing really good. Person at the top of the world, great guy, there for everyone, loses family, has a tough time, goes dark, stays dark. And people see me with a guitar on my back. They say things, but they only say those things because of my confidence. Like I've been told, like people come up to me and be like, "Yo, can you play for me?" Like just off rep, "Can you play for me?" Yo, you look like you're the guy to do something for me. So I know that there's people are different, right? Some people, they feel that feeling, and there's nothing that's within them that blocks from expressing how they feel towards me. Giving me kudos for my essence is not something that they're barred from doing. And in return from them doing that, which is essentially talking to me nice, like talk to me nice, engage with me in a correct manner, which people who are not for me fail to do because they just don't have the mechanisms to do it. I have the mechanism to engage with them because I'm an eagle, but if I see that your altitude is like 60 feet off the ground, I'll be like, cool. I know how to rock with you. At this point in my life, 60 feet is, hey man, you start getting online, be like, yo, you 60 feet, bro. Calm down, bro. Hey man, you only get 60 feet off the ground, bro. The fact that I had to tell you this is a bad sign. You're saying unnecessary things. And then there's people who they see me and then they're like, they'll say things. Try to undermine me, basically. I see through it. And it's like, damn, you're really trying it. And the way they try is like very sad. And it's just like, you don't even know who I am. I don't know if I recorded this on the human element. But envy, so stupid. I came into the orbit and now it's just like they're trying to tear me down. And they're tearing me down because of something that's going on within them. Like, what is strength, right? Like, what is strength? I would say strength, my strength personally, because I have my own measure of what strength is. My strength is the ability to not be susceptible to enter the state in which I feel it's necessary to throw a stone, so to speak. Like the capacity is not there for me. That makes me successful as far as what I've extracted to be success. And I'll make another video about what success is. Because success has a relative element. And that's why everybody with the cookie cutter dream, is the matrix. You don't want a flashy car and no. You don't have things that you like that are your own things. Why not? Cookie cutter. But is it a crime to be in a cookie cutter? No. There's real wisdom in the ability to come to that realization and then step out of it. Like moi. What was I, like 11, 10? I came into the concept, like I said, it was concept, quotes, and phrases I was floating. the concept of 99% floated into my orbit. And I thought 99% is a lot of people. I'm probably part of the 99%. I'm interested in knowing how not to be part of the 99%. Because if the 99% of people are not successful, then I want to be successful, then I'm not going to do what the 99% does. And by that theory, running with that theory at 11 years and seeing how far I got with it, at a certain point, it became not so much it became more condensed. It hardened, and the fact that it hardened verified it in my eyes as far as reality concerned. It's like, oh, you just crystallized. Like, damn. All right. So if I don't do what the 99% does, then that means I have a better chance of being successful, as far as what I'm thinking. Running with that theory at that time. And then it turned into, after a certain period of running with it, and it's like, doing what the 99% does increases the chance that I will not be successful. And then it elevates, and it's like, thinking like the 99% does increases the chance that I will not be successful. Tap in with yourself. Ask yourself questions. See what comes up. What you might find is another quest. A quest ion. A question. A quest ion. Ask yourself a question. Your answer might lead you to another question. But if you really want to answer that question, and you're seeking to find an answer question, what you'll come with, Spirit will give you action. And that's where the do comes in. Do based on the action that Spirit gives you, and you will be aligning yourself. What are you aligning yourself with? You're aligning yourself with your success. What else could you possibly aligning yourself with? You're removing everything that's not you. What true success is there that you conceptualize? And that's where we get into not being smart. It's like, because you're not smart, you think that you're God. And you think that you're God because you're lazy. And you don't take the extent of what you learn as deeply as you can take it. So there's like a duality. It's like, you're too weak to take it to the extent that you can take it, right? And when you're faced with the capacity to go deeper, you fold. But then you play God at other times. It's real complex going on. Those types of people, right? Those types of people, am I right? To each their own. The human element is kind of like to each their own, Hey, man. I'm just distributing. This is the Plateau. The plateau is literally this middle line right here. If you want to go from one to the other, master your ability to go from one pole to the center, one pole to the center, one pole to the center. Because to go from negative to neutral is positive in terms of progress, in terms of fluctuation, in terms of being across time. Going from negative to neutral is positive. It indicates specific periods of time and when actions were taken that were actually in alignment with your highest purpose. Pay attention. Lock in. Do your homework. Associate yourself with the plateau. If you're depressed, pay attention to when you're less depressed. Formulate hypotheses based on that. And do that whenever you decide to believe in someone like me, who is a representative of underdogs, who at this current point, maybe you've come into my life and you've never seen me at a low point before. But if you know how I give it up with patterns and bringing things together, I would say you should have faith that I have some experience in being an outsider, being cast and shunned away, and expected to make it work. Okay, that's it, guys. Bye. It's great. Yeah, that was fun. See you guys later. Ciao.